Good evening, America, and welcome to the 5 o'clock news. We are going to go over to Nolan for the cultural report right now.
Yes, we are. So, today, we have some very tragic news. So, first off, African-American catcher who played for the Brooklyn Dodgers named Roy Campanella, also known as Campy for my baseball viewers out there, he got his career cut short by a very terrible car accident which caused him to be paralyzed. So, it's just a very sad day for my baseball fans out there. Very unfortunate for him. In other news, Prokofiev, who was a Russian composer and pianist, got his life cut short today, and he actually passed away. And he was a very famous artist and musician in Russia. So, very sad news for the music industry out there. Terrible, terrible. And we also have some news about the Rockefeller family. Winthrop Rockefeller, the grandson of John D. Rockefeller, who we all know was very notorious for being a great entrepreneur and making millions of dollars, and he's just looked up to. Winthrop, his grandson, had been found to be a very hard drinker and a playboy. So he's not really living up to that Rockefeller name, because also Winthrop's brother Nelson has joined the Senate and been doing very great things. So Winthrop to be like thrashing that Rockefeller name almost, it's just, I feel bad for the Rockefeller name because it's just been great things from
All the other members.
Yes.
So, I think that's it for the culture report today.
Yes, it is.
So let's move to the political and geographic report. Alright guys, I'm going to take you over to the world map right here. There's a lot of big things that happened in the world today, so listen up, get ready. 2 big things in Russia. We got the leader that has been leading Russia for 24 years died today, Joseph Stalin. Now, Joseph Stalin was notorious for killing many of his citizens, millions of them. He either sent them to war with no guns, starved them to death, or made them work to death just to get what he wants. And some Russians rejoice and some are just devastated by this. And a new man is rising to power now, named Malenkov. Now, Malenkov is very different from Stalin. He's known to be a little more mellow, a little more less brutal than Stalin. So we're hoping that will be able to help out our tension between the United States and Russia. Speaking of tension, let's move over to Eastern Europe. Right here, these Eastern European states, all under Russian rules now, they are forming something called the Communist Bloc. And that is blocking communists from democracy of Western Europe and the United States. And this is just very bad for the tension between us right now. It is making it grow even more. And as you guys all know, since World War II, tension between these two political parties has been very high. So that's just the last thing we're doing right now. So let's move on from Eastern Europe down to Northern Africa, Egypt. Now, the monarchy in Egypt has finally been overthrown. The monarchy has just been terrible for Egypt. And a man named Nasser should be thanked for overthrowing this monarchy. He is an Arab leader who is hopefully going to bring great things to Egypt and help them thrive, because they just haven't been doing very well the last few years with this monarchy thing, and hopefully this will help them out. All right, guys, now let's move over to the United States. A big thing going down with Rockefeller today. Winthrop Rockefeller has moved from Florida up to New York and back to Arkansas. So he's been moving around quite a bit, and this is very important because he's been up to no good lately. You see, he's been involved with Playboy, and he's been known as a heavy drinker, and this is just really bad for the Rockefeller name because, as you guys know, his grandfather was just an amazing entrepreneur, and his brother is in the Senate and doing great things still, so gonna have to keep our eye on that and see what's up with Winthrop. And we're gonna end now with some sad news. You see, a man in Russia named Prokofiev, who was a pianist, he has passed away, and Russia is just very upset. Many people in the music community are just very depressed about this, and we gotta give our condolences out to him. And another sad story, we have a catcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers. He went paralyzed in a tragic car accident, and his career is cut short. And this man was a two-time MVP as well. His name was Roy Campanella, and unfortunately we will no longer be seeing him on the baseball field due to this tragic accident. So with that said, let's move over to the fire report. Alright guys, this is the fire report right here. And if you've never seen our show, I'll run down what the fire report is real quick. The fire report is basically when we go over everything that we went over today and explain how it contributes to something we like to call the fire. And Nolan is going to tell you what the fire is.
Yes, so if you haven't heard, the fire is basically just all the negative things that are happening around the world and are affecting us citizens. Very terrible things. So, I don't know, man. It's just very bad. It really upsets me.
Well said. Okay, let's move on to my things about what started the fire. What we just went over on the political report. First, Joseph Stalin's death. Stalin led Russia for 24 years. And as I said previously, a lot of people in Russia are very sad that this happened because he led them to be one of the top 2 countries in the world while in power. And even though he did many bad things that at the time contributed to the fire, to many of his citizens, he really rose their country to the top. So it's just a very sad thing for some of them. And in that note, we'll move on to Malenkov, who is taking Stalin's spot as leader of the Soviet Union. You see, he took over for Stalin, and we are hoping that he will not be so brutal like Stalin was, but again, there's a good chance that he could be, and if he is like Stalin is, that could increase this fire even more, like, just not be good for us.
No.
Nope. So let's move on to Nasser. As I said earlier, we are really hoping Nasser, who overthrew the Egyptian monarchy, will be able to bring great things to Egypt. And he probably will, but if he doesn't, that's going to be big for this fire, man.
Yep.
It's just not going to be good. And it's bringing a lot of political change. This could bring a lot of conflict between Egypt and its surrounding countries. So we're just going to have to keep our eye on that, see what happens. And let's move on to probably the biggest thing contributing to the fire right now. It's called the Communist Bloc. I went over it already. And this Communist Bloc is just dividing us so much. We are already so divided over the World War II, who's the most powerful, and what political party works best. So, again, we're just going to have to keep our eye on that and see how that goes.
So, other things that have contributed to fire are things like Campanella getting paralyzed. It's not as bad like things like as the Communist Bloc. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Like I was saying, it's not as bad as the Communist Bloc and stuff like that, but it's still very depressing for people because baseball is very big in America. So it's just very depressing to hear that somebody of that talent got his career cut short by a very just tragic and unnecessary accident.
Just freak accident.
Freak accident, exactly. So it's just very sad to hear, and it contributes to the fire. Also, Prokofiev, he died today. And it's just very upsetting because, he was very famous in Russia and he just got his life cut short in a freak accident. Just like Campanella got. Just freak accidents.
Yeah.
Just ruin people's lives and it's just terrible.
Tragic stories.
Yes. So in other news, Rockefeller contributes to the fire because Winthrop, John D. Rockefeller's grandson, like I said earlier, he's been doing things with Playboy, and he's been drinking really hardly and just being a drunk. And while his brother's in the Senate and his grandfather was one of the most prestigious entrepreneurs ever to live, it's just sad to see somebody in the Rockefeller family doing terrible things like that. It's just not good. So it's contributing to the fire. It's just very sad.
Very sad.
Very
That fire is just burning even more.
It just keeps on growing, man.
Fire keeps on growing.
It's like all these people are putting gasoline in it.
Yep. So that's gonna do it for 5 o'clock news.
Yes. So
see you guys tomorrow.
tune in next time.